Hey guys, it's Addison. So, I wanted to make a video about, a little bit of an expansion of what I talked about in my response video to Chris about finding an ally. I wanted to talk about being non-binary and being in therapy, because I think it's a very different process than being binary and being in therapy. And not to say that what I'm going to say in this video isn't relevant to binary people. I think some of it is, but I can only come at it from how I know to come at it, and how I can come at it is as a non-binary person. So take what I say with a grain of salt and adapt it as you please, and here we go. Sorry, I have like this strange setup here where I've got like my Xbox and then a tissue box and then the camera, and so if it's a little off, I apologize. I can't see it. I can't see the back of it, so I can't see what the angle is or anything, so forgive me. So the first thing is, I guess, just to restate kind of what I said in the ally video. The best thing that you can do when going to therapy, especially, and I'm coming at this from therapy to transition, not just, well, some mental state therapy too, but mostly to transition, is to find yourself an ally. And that, I think that's harder as a non-binary person, because even when people get the whole trans thing, non-binary transition tends to be this thing that's like kind of understood, but most people haven't had like exposure to it as a person. Like, they haven't met any non-binary people. So sometimes you're gonna find people that are just completely incapable of being allies, and they will come from all over. They will come from people who have never experienced transness before, to people who have experienced transness but have a very rigid idea of what trans is. And so sometimes you just have to give up and move on. But there are times where it might be in your better judgment to make an ally out of them. And I've done this with my last two therapists, is just educate them. Show them that you are a human being, that you are relevant, that your presentation isn't weird. You know, it's not something that's like completely like left field. It makes sense to someone, and that someone is you. My last two therapists, the one that I had over the summer, had no experience with masculine identified trans people at all. So I was her first exposure to that, as well as non-binary. And my therapist that I go to here is from PERSAD, which is the queer center in the city. So he knows trans people of all types, mostly trans women, but he had never really encountered a non-binary person before. So I just, educated. Gender-neutral pronouns if you use them. Let them know. I told my therapist about it just because I thought he would find it interesting. Just try and show them that you're a person, and that you deserve just as much respect as anyone else. You deserve an ally just as much as anyone else. So, I'm just gonna assume for a second that you did find an ally, and you're at least on a level where you understand each other on some basic level. The next thing that I would say is, don't let yourself be bullied. And that involves going either way. That involves being rushed through, and that involves being completely stalled. And so sometimes you'll have to talk to your, just stand your ground. Just talk to your therapist and say, I feel like you're pushing me a little too fast on this. Can we slow down, and can we, talk a little bit more? Not to say that I'm rethinking everything in the world, but I would just like some more time to work through it. Or, I feel like we're just stalling here. Is there a concern? Can we do something to maybe go through some of this preliminary work a little bit faster, because I feel like I have it under control. Just something like that. And it's no blaming, no you statements, You know, and maybe your therapist does have a concern. Maybe they, you know, are concerned because you're going through a rough time right now and you're trying to speed things up and they want you to slow down a little bit. Or, you know, they don't understand and they want to be sure that they understand before they move forward, you know, that kind of thing. So it's always a good idea to just check what pages you're on with your therapist. I had a whole list and I don't have the list with me. But actually, you know what, I think I do. Hold on a sec. I found it. Okay. The one of the biggest things that I think will help anyone who are transitioning or who just want to, you know, figure themselves out is, you know, being informed, knowing what testosterone does, knowing what estrogen does, knowing what surgeries are out there. You know, just being informed on that level, and that's one thing that I think has really helped me in terms of my therapist here, is he knows that I know about pretty much every aspect of testosterone. He asked me, like, what I wanted out of tea, and I just went through the list, and I was like, some of these might not happen, some of these will happen, some of these will happen to a lesser extent, and I just, you know, listed them all off, and he was just like, wow, like, I didn't even know about some of this stuff, and it was just like, yeah, well, I kind of have to. So, I mean, that is a big way to earn a lot of trust from your therapist. If they understand that you are doing your own research and that you understand what's going on and that you're not just relying on them to know everything, you're gonna get a lot more leeway. You're gonna, you know, they're gonna trust you more with your own decision making, because they won't think that you have outrageous expectations in terms of what hormones are going to do for you. And that's one of the things that my therapist has really stressed, is that anyone who hasn't gotten hormones through the program that I'm in has been because they had outrageous expectations about hormones, because they thought that hormones were going to make them like a real man or a real woman, if we're going to use those terms, and that's not what hormones do at all. So, you know, just be informed about that kind of stuff. It really goes a long way. You think it's really dumb and stupid and that most people do that already, but it's not true. It's just not. I have met so many people who have been involved in transness way longer than I have and just have no idea what's going on. And, you know, stay up to date. Just because you think you know everything doesn't mean that you do. New forms of testosterone are coming out all the time. I don't know so much about estrogen because it doesn't really apply to me, but I can only imagine the same steps are going in that direction. So, you know, just stay on top of your research. So yeah.